Hello and welcome to Culture Shark live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and
Chip
today we have
85.
Rickship 85, our very special guest Rickship 85. We are here to discuss the current run of the Energon Universe. This is Robert Kirkman's take on Transformers, GI Joe, and a new title called Void Rivals. Last year we talked about Void Rivals, so I thought this year let's check in on Transformers. And if we have time, we'll talk GI Joe towards the end. Um, so I guess we'll quickly go around the room and just talk about our experiences with Transformers. I grew up in the '80s, watched the cartoon quite a bit, had a bunch of the toys. I wouldn't say I'm like a super expert. It depends on which era of Transformers you're talking about. There's some eras I know more about than others. But I'd say I'm a pretty big fan. What about you, Caleb?
So for me, I grew up. So I will say I had to do a lot of research for this episode because not GI Joe, Transformers has always been kind of like there. And it was one of those shows that I watched. I would not consider myself like a super fan. So for the super fans, I grew up in like the post resurgence era. Like, Transformers dies down and then like it shoots back up with Beast Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up after that. So my introduction to Transformers was actually the Robots in Disguise anime. Uh and then that's probably my favorite. Uh, but as far as just what I grew up with, I think it was actually called the Energon trilogy, where it was Armada, Energon, and Cybertron.
Was that the Unicron trilogy, maybe?
The Unicron trilogy, that's what it
Yeah.
was.
Mm-hmm.
And then around the time I uh, was probably like 10 or 11 is whenever Michael Bay started coming out with his movies, um, and so that's kind of my experience with the Transformers. It very limited and very uh, new age, I guess.
All right, Wreckship 85. How about you?
Yeah, I trying to think really. First Transformers I can really recall was I believe it was like the reruns of the Beast Wars cartoon. So and I didn't know any of the names. I just remember watching the animals turn into robots and I was confused about what was going on. But the real Transformers hit for me when the Michael Bay movies came out, like Caleb said. And I remember getting a few of the figures from that one, especially Barricade. He has a Mustang. I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah, that's the weirdest thing for me is I had no idea who Bumblebee was until the
Yeah.
Michael Bay movie. uh,
Well,
like
I take
like
it back. I did get one of the Beast Wars. I got the T Rex. Is that Megatron?
Beast
yeah.
Wars, Megatron is the T Rex, and then
Yeah.
Dinobot is the other dinosaur.
I think I got the Megatron figure T Rex.
Yeah,
Anyway, so
yeah. So Energon Universe, this is a new series. Started with Void Rivals, which at first no one knew it was connected to Transformers or GI Joe until Jetfire showed up.
Which, if I may interject, that is something that Kirkman kind of specializes in. Um, like, I mean, whenever he ended Walking Dead, nobody knew it was ending
Mm-hmm.
until after that issue came out. So Kirkman kind of specializes in doing big things without announcing it first.
Yeah, I think he told the retailers like a week or two before Void Rivals came out. He said, "Oh, hey, by the way, just so you know, this is secretly a Transformers book. You might want to order more copies and stuff." So, I mean, he gave the retailers heads up, but the audience didn't know.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the Transformers book, it starts out very much like the was it 84 cartoon? I think 84, 85. I'm trying to remember when the first cartoon came out, where the Autobots and the Decepticons were having a fight in space, and their spaceships crashed on Earth, and they have been buried under rubble. I don't know if they said how long in this book. It's been at least hundreds of years. In the original series, it was millions of years. I don't think it's quite that long in this one, but
Yeah,
it's
the timelines are very vague in these books.
it's hard to tell when what is happening in GI Joe and Transformers crossover,
I'm
because one of the go ahead, Caleb.
I'm trying to figure out how all this links. I mean, out of everything that I've gotten to so far, I still think that Void Rivals is my favorite in this universe. I don't see how Void Rivals links up with any of this, honestly.
Well, other than Jetfire showing up and saying, "I'm trying to, find a way to end the war. I'm looking for my friends," and then he shows up in issue 1 and reactivates the Transformers. That is the
Okay.
connection there. If you get to volume 2 of Void Rivals, more Transformers show up.
Okay, gotcha. I guess because that's where my confusion was. Because like I remember Jetfire being in Void Rivals, and I'm like, so is that before or after everything here?
It's before.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing is, I was going to say, is a big part of the Duke series, and we'll talk about Duke here in a little bit, is he's trying to prove that the Transformers exist. Well, if you get to volume 3 of this, it would be hard not to prove they exist as they destroy all of like Tacoma, Washington, and Seattle and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, that's where I'm just like, when is this actually happening?
Yeah, so I don't know if the G.I. Joe books are taking place before this, and then maybe they'll catch up. It's hard to say. The other thing is, in the Cobra Commander book, we see Megatron being held prisoner in those, and then in this book, we see his escape. So we know that Cobra Commander takes place before some of the events in this book. So you don't have to read all the books. You can just read Transformers, you'll be fine. You can just read the G.I. Joe books, you'll be fine. But if you read them all, you get little things that hook together.
Yeah.
So I've been reading all 3. I'm not totally caught up on Void Rivals, but it's a fun little universe they're building here.
Do you think that this is something that Robert Kirkman is?
Caleb's microphone dies at the craziest times. Right in the middle of a sentence, like building suspense.
Yeah.
Do you think Robert Kirkman is? And then Caleb is. I think we really lost Caleb. He's not coming back. So while we're waiting for Caleb, what I was going to say earlier, this is very much the storyline from like the first couple episodes of the Transformers 80s cartoon.
Can you guys hear me now?
Caleb? Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. Do you think this is something that like Robert Kirkman is like running completely, or is he letting Joshua Williamson and Daniel Johnson kind of like run themselves like in their own specific books, or do you think that like he's kind of like the showrunner here?
I think he is sort of the showrunner. Now he's taking over this book at issue 25, so he'll definitely be controlling this in Void Rivals. I don't think I think he tells them, you're going to be dealing with these characters, and they kind of talk back and forth like, oh, what if I use this character? So, for example, one of my favorite Transformers, Hot Rod, has showed up in Void Rivals, and so he had to ask the Transformer books, hey, can I use Hot Rod over in Void Rivals to make sure they weren't using them? So I think, there's some. I don't think he has complete control. I'm sure he's the final say, but they kind of communicate back and forth which characters are using to make sure that they are, not overlapping.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get back to the plot. This is very much the first couple episodes of Transformers 80 series, where the Transformers are they crash their spaceship. They're awoken in the 80s, and they meet Spike, and I can't remember the dad's name all of a sudden.
Sparky.
Hmm.
And there's a big fight over the Energon and the energy. So it's very much the same story, but they've made this way more devastating, way more violent, and they've added other elements. So, but that same premise, it's the same premise as the first couple episodes of the '80s cartoon.
Just keep picturing when they write these books, and just whenever they get to one scene and something devastating happens, they just go, and then.
Yeah. So let's at the beginning of the book, we meet a couple of human characters, which is Carly and it's Spike, right?
Yes.
Shia LaBeouf. So
Spike.
Sam. Yeah.
No. Sam is in the movie. Spike.
It's the same character.
Yeah, they were just like, we're not going to call a main character Spike in the year 2007.
Yeah. So what happens here is they find that all the Autobots and Decepticons have like destroyed each other, and so they hide, and Jetfire shows up and activates the machine to repair them, because Jetfire left before the war broke out, so he doesn't know how bad it got. So when Starscream is the first one to be activated, he just starts taking out Autobots. And it's quite shocking, because since the 2000s, Bumblebee has been one of the main focuses of the series. You know, whether it's the movies, the cartoons, whatever, it's always Bumblebee. So Starscream immediately shoots Bumblebee in the head and just kills him. So the weird thing about Transformers is I don't know how permanent death is here. It is hard to say are they going to rebuild him? Because as we'll see up soon, Jetfire dies, and then they kind of rebuild him, sort of. And it's hard to see, is Bumblebee dead? Are they going to rebuild him as Goldbug later, as it's happened in the cartoons, or will we see him in flashbacks? We don't know.
That was kind of my question, because like, and I don't know if this resonates with you. I'm very much reminded of the first third of the Krakoan era from X-Men by this whole franchise. And so yeah, it's one of those things where like, how does death work here? In X-Men, we had Gold Balls with his eggs, and the other that, you know, where they could just kind of grow new mutants. And then here, I guess it's not clear if like they have souls, or like we just put the robots back together.
They have sparks. We know that, but exactly how that works, you know, I don't know. The other thing is, it is brutal what we see. I guess we kind of compare Skywarp and Jetfire here. So right before we get to that, I just wanted to show that the Autobots, or at least Optimus Prime, is super compassionate. You know, any living being, he wants to save their life.
Mm-hmm.
And they show this in this great scene where he steps on a deer.
I thought this was great.
Yeah. And just him being so heartbroken, like, I didn't see you there. I didn't know. We're not used to squishy creatures. we just don't know. And I think I have a better picture of that. Let me find it.
It kind of reminded me of It kind of reminded me of uh, Superman's speech in Justice League Unlimited, where he's talking about how he has to treat this as a Earth as a world of cardboard, always being so careful to not break anything.
Yeah. Well, I can't find the other picture, but that's okay. Yeah. So one of the things this book does is it contrasts how the Autobots react to things and how the Decepticons are acting.
Yeah.
So at the same time that the Autobots are, we see his compassion with the deer, we see the Decepticons literally ripping Skywarp apart to use his spare parts to fix the other Decepticons. And the thing you'll see throughout this book is if the Decepticons would all get on the same page, they could conquer the Earth instantly and destroy the Autobots. The Autobots are so outnumbered and defeated that it's only because the Decepticons are constantly infighting that they lose.
It almost makes me want to see like a I mean, because I mean that's, and let me say this real quick. I think this is the most comic booky and superhero I've ever seen Transformers, because there's a lot of stuff that just kind of reminds me of that. Uh, I almost want to see like an alternate universe that's kind of like Wanted or Old Man Logan, where like the villains get together and they're like, wait a second, there's like 10 villains per superhero. We can just all team up and take everybody down.
So in the previous continuity, and I haven't read it, there is a story called All Hail Megatron, where Megatron has conquered the whole Earth.
Okay.
So I think they've done that story. I don't know how bleak it is, but there is a story where Megatron wins. So, but yeah, there's 3 trade paperbacks, and the first trade paperback, Starscream is leading the Decepticons, and Starscream's my favorite Transformer. I love him. He is so treacherous and so jealous of Megatron. Anytime anybody mentions Megatron, he just flips out, and I think he's great. And it's usually his own fault that he loses constantly. So, but yeah, just the brutality here. Skywarp gets ripped apart, and they don't ever fix him. At least in the issues we read, he's still strapped to the computer. And one of the things I like about this book is all the Decepticons are not just kill Autobots. They all have different motivations, different personalities. Whereas Soundwave, he's very loyal to Megatron, but also he's his pets, the Recordicons. He's more concerned about them than anybody else. And one of the ongoing stories in here is how Ravage is damaged and nobody will let him fix Ravage. And so Soundwave is very upset about this. And the scene where Starscream just kicks Ravage is hilarious.
I'm stuck on Recordicons. That's the thing is like so I don't. It's the funny thing because this is a very bleak, story, but it also kind of keeps the silliness of like I assume of the '80s cartoon. I've actually not seen a whole lot of it, but like stuff like the Recordicons and stuff like that, like that's not from my generation of Transformers at all. So it's weird that how bleak it is, and yet they have the silly stuff and then play it so straight.
So Soundwave, when I was a kid, he was like Soundwave and Blaster, because Blaster is the Autobot tape recorder. They were like those were the most popular toys back then. Having the little tapes that would go inside Soundwave and transform into animals and stuff was just so cool. So he's a very beloved character in the mythos. and it gets annoying when every time they bring Soundwave back down. Like, oh, he's a satellite now, or oh, he's a van. And it's like, no, he's a stereo. What are you doing? He's a
I,
boombox.
I will say that it does kind of remind me of like uh, when that Michael Bay movie came out, and I think it was Frenzy, and everyone thought it was Soundwave.
Yeah. Well, the thing the cartoons and this comic book do is the Transformers can shrink down when they transform, and the movies don't really do that. So when Soundwave, or like when Megatron transforms to a gun, he transforms into a smaller gun.
Yeah.
So they grow and shrink. The movies don't do that, so that's part of the reason. I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense for this giant robot to turn into this little boombox or whatever. So we could critique the Michael Bay movies all day, but let's get back to this. The other two fun things these books do is, I don't know how much you all were paying attention to the sound effects throughout the whole book.
Yeah.
They have a lot of fun with the sound effects. There's a part where Optimus Prime transforms. It just says, you know the song, because they want you to start singing "Touch" from the animated movie. Little moments like that are fun.
So I didn't catch any of that. Okay, that's fun. I like that.
Yeah, the sound effects. Pay attention to the sound effects. There's a lot of, like, even the page I got up where it says "crack" or they're cracking its leg. The sound effects are really fun. The other thing is, the Transformers would kind of wrestle around a little bit, but there's a lot of wrestling in this. So if you like WWF wrestling, or I'm sorry, WWE wrestling for you younger kids, there's a lot of body slams and DDTs and all kinds of stuff. So it's lots of wrestling moves, which I really appreciate.
I will say I wouldn't have noticed that. I did the majority of my story thing from that YouTube channel that you ended up sending me.
Yeah, we were Drunk 3PO. Give him a little shout out.
And he was talking about, like, I think pretty much every time there was a wrestling move, he said, "Oh yeah, he did this and he did that." And I'm like, man, there's like a whole world that I just don't know about.
Yeah, I'm more of a casual wrestling fan. I can't tell you the names of all the moves. Like, oh, they did the stunner or whatever. I'm like, okay. I don't know the names of all the moves. So
the stunner is like the one move that I know.
Yeah. But there's a lot of wrestling moves throughout the series. The other thing is, at one point in the series, the ongoing plot is there's no energy, no energon, and the Autobots cannot restore all the we'll just call them comatose Autobots right now. They can't rebuild everybody because they don't have the energy.
Right.
And Optimus Prime has the Matrix of Leadership, but he uses it up to power the hospital. And so to get more power, Spike's dad walks into the Matrix of Leadership and repowers it with his soul, we guess. We don't know. And ever since then, Optimus Prime has been getting visions. And where he gets these visions, he loses control and usually does something devastating. The other thing is Optimus Prime has lost his arm, and now he has Megatron's arm. So we don't know, is Megatron's arm affecting things? Or has the Matrix been corrupted by humans? I don't know.
So I do want to this is a reference that only myself and Cameron and a select few of others. I don't think this is I don't think this is the audience for it, but I think that's what's interesting, because there's a part of me that thinks maybe the writer is aware of it. Metal Gear Solid 4, the whole point is that one of the recurring villains, Ocelot, had his arm replaced with liquid snakes.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm still here. Sorry. He had his arm replaced with liquid snakes, and so it's like uh, uh, the bad guy is no longer Ocelot; it's Liquid Snake, back to life because the arm has taken over Ocelot's mind. So, like, to me, this is totally a Metal Gear Solid 4 reference. If Megatron is controlling Optimus,
And I've seen that
Yeah.
plot before, like in wasn't Twilight Zone, but there's one of those weird shows like Monsters, where like their arm got replaced with a killer's arm, and now they're killing people, not realizing it. It very much could be that it's Megatron's arm that's doing the controlling, because later in the book we see that Starscream was a nice guy that gets corrupted every time he holds Megatron's gun. It slowly turns him crazy and evil. I did want to point out the very first page of the first issue. We are seeing parts of Sparkplug in the war compared to Optimus Prime in the war. And then there's this ongoing plot line about Spike's older brother dying on a space mission. And in some of the visions, there's a baby that's getting corrupted by like nanotechnology or something. I'm wondering if there's an ongoing mystery about the brother, like maybe he was captured by Transformers or something, and maybe that's what the visions of the Matrix are. I don't know. You'll see these scenes where they're comparing Sparkplug and Optimus Prime over and over throughout the book. So I'm wondering if there's something more there, if this is just contrasting humans and Autobots. I don't know.
Optimus Prime is Spike's father.
His real father. Yeah. It's a whole thing. Yeah. Let's see. So in volume 2, we start seeing what's going on with Cybertron. And so while Optimus Prime and the Autobots that were on the ship have been knocked out for hundreds of years or thousands of years, the war has still been going on Cybertron, which is the same as what it was in the cartoons. So the Autobots are still on Cybertron are much more hardened. They've been fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And so they're really much more vicious than the Earth Autobots.
Yeah, and I will say, as far as the 3 volumes, I think the second volume is my favorite. There's something about I don't know. I think I tend to like the stuff before they get on to Earth more. Just in my experience, like the War for Cybertron duology, like those video games. I love those video games. So I think this is showing me that I tend to like Transformers before they meet the humans.
I tend to agree. I think that especially the later cartoons, when it focuses more on the humans than the Transformers or the movies, it drives me nuts. I'm like, I don't care about them. I want to see the robots. And this book does okay with keeping the humans to a minimum, although I find Carly extremely annoying. But I was recently watching one of the old episodes of the cartoon, and Carly is super annoying. So I think they're kind of drawing on that. But there's just this repeated scene over and over of Carly going, "Can't I go with you? Can't I go with you?" Like every volume, we see this over and over, and it was kind of getting old. So if I was going to critique something, that would be something I would critique. In the Cybertron story, we see that Shockwave is ruling Cybertron currently. That was the same in the old cartoon. Shockwave was always on Cybertron. In the comic books, Shockwave had a big rivalry with the Dinobots. We have not seen them yet, so I'm hoping we'll get Grimlock soon, just as we're hoping we'll get Snake Eyes soon in G.I. Joe. But if they never show up, it's still fun without them. So, okay, so this character here on the screen is Alita 1. She is leading a team of Autobots to try and rescue their leader, Ultra Magnus. right away, we see one of my favorite Autobots get shot in the face and die, presumably. Cup, one of
Woo!
my favorite Transformers.
Cup.
So is Ratchet. He apparently dies also. Although, again, it's hard to say if characters are truly dead or not because it looks like Warpath also died, but then he comes back in Volume 3. So
I've already had to deal with it because Jetfire is my favorite Transformer, so he's already back.
let's talk about Jetfire. he dies, but then they need a ship, and so the plan behind the scenes was they were just gonna use him as a jet, his dead body as a jet, fly in. And the editors at Hasbro said no, it's too morbid. So they said, "Oh, okay. Well, now he's just has enough energy to barely survive, and he's blind now. He wishes he was dead, and they're flying around inside of him, which I think is kind of worse than what the original plan was."
Which here's the thing. I will always save this. The greatest creativity comes with limitations. So I think that we got the better end of the deal with.
I think this is far more interesting, but it's far more horrible for the character of Jetfire.
It's that story kind of reminds me of the Fight Club story where they did a screening, and then Helena Bonham Carter said something horrible after a scene with Brad Pitt, Tyler Durden, and so then they're like, "Oh man, you got to take that out." He's like, "Can I? Well, I mean, what do I put there?" He's like, "Just put anything but that." And so then they just put something even worse, and it gets an even bigger laugh in the test screenings.
Yeah,
Looks
I mean
like a robot chicken sketch, honestly.
the famous story in comics is that Jean Grey was supposed to live at the end of the Phoenix Saga, and the editorial said no, she has to die. She killed millions, and it was the better story.
Yeah.
So, all right. So here they rescue Ultra Magnus. He's been being tortured by Shockwave for hundreds of years. He looks awful, and they bring him back, and you think he's going to be like to change the tide of everything, and then he just sees Shockwave and freaks out and says, "No, I'm out of here. I can't face him again."
I have a question about Ultra Magnus.
Uh-huh.
As a kid, in anything that I ever saw him in, I didn't like him. Is he a well-liked character in the fandom?
Some people like him. I always saw him as kind of he's no, I'm thinking of Sentinel Prime. Yeah, I always thought he was cool, but he wasn't like he was always kind of like the second banana, the one that, oh, I'm supposed to be the next leader, and he's not. It was Hot Rod.
Okay.
So, but he's kind of lame in the animated movie too, where he just gets shot and explodes, and he's not that great. Let me see if I can find the panel.
Too
Oh
bad
yeah,
that Hasbro said that you can't have them running around in dead Jetfire's body, but they'll gladly sell you at least 2 or 3 different figures from the animated movie where you have a big giant hole in their chest.
yeah. They have sold a lot of dead Autobots
Hey, Autobots.
from the movies, dead Optimus Primes, Starscream Ghosts. Yeah, they'll sell all that stuff. If they can make money off of it, they will definitely do it. And I'm glad they do. So, but yeah, here's just the scene where Ultra Magnus like, I can't, and he just runs off, which kind of sucks for the Autobots because there were other Autobots they could have brought back, but they used all the energy on Ultra Magnus, and he's just like, I'm out of here. So, but yeah, Volume 2 is Shockwave takes over the Decepticons, and Shockwave he's kind of like a scientist with no morals. Like he just wants to experiment on things. and there are no moral boundaries whatsoever. So he tortures everybody, and we see that he's fascinated by the Earth has humpback whales. They're so beautiful, and okay, into the harvester you go. It just kills them all, and it's very brutal. So they're draining all the energy from Earth to repower Cybertron, and he decides to bring Cybertron to Earth. Alita 1 comes through the portal with Ultra Magnus, and she's kind of annoying, but she's kind of right. She clashes a lot with Optimus Prime, where she just, they got to take the war back to Cybertron, and Optimus Prime just wants to save his friends on Earth for right now.
Who is she? I've never heard of Alita 1 before this.
I think she's a later character, because RC was like the first, to my knowledge, female Transformer animated movies.
Yeah, well, I thought it was RC whenever I first saw it.
I did too. I was like, what?
Yeah, I think the new movie Transformers 1, I think it's Alita 1 in that. I think that's Scarlett Johansson's character in that.
I didn't see that. Neither did anybody else.
It is a great film. It is.
Theaters.
It was ruined by marketing. The worst. Like, they should fire that whole marketing team.
Which, let me be clear, that's why I refuse to watch it, because I'm not rewarding bad marketing.
It is.
It's actually pretty good.
It's brutal. It's way more brutal than you think it's going to be. And that ending fight is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend Transformers 1. So back to this. Optimus Prime, again, he makes questionable decisions throughout this, where they have Energon on Cybertron now, and he's like, no, it was gathered by the wrong means, and shoots it and blows it up, and Cliffjumper ends up stranded on Cybertron now, and Optimus Prime and a piece of Cybertron are back on Earth. The other character I forgot to mention through all this is we meet Beachcomber, and he is an Autobot that is a pacifist that wants nothing to do with this, and he's basically the Silver Surfer. He is just the Transformers equivalent of the Silver Surfer, and he saves the day a couple of times, but again, he's trying to stay out of the fighting. And so you have Alita 1, who is all about war, and then you have Beachcomber's like, forget the war, let's just get out of here. And then Optimus Prime is somewhere in the middle. Any comments on Beachcomber?
No, I mean, so this is another one that I had never heard of.
I was aware of him, but this is probably the most I've ever seen him in a story before.
Okay, gotcha.
The name makes sense. It fits.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm surprised he wasn't some joke character in one of the Michael Bay movies. To be honest with you, but
so
I think Michael Bay is actually coming back to the franchise, so you may get that.
Yeah,
him, like dreads or something somehow.
You're right.
Oh.
Somehow it looks like he has board shorts on.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
totally racist, and yeah.
I mean, you know,
Jamaican accent.
I think it's been proven that if Michael Bay is not involved in a Transformers movie, it's not going to make any money.
Which is sad, because they're the better movies usually.
Also, Michael Bay loves to make racist Transformers.
Oh man. Growing up, Skids and Mudflap were some of my favorite Transformers, and
this was like a cool place to kick it.
Oh man. Ooh.
Let's see. So then that brings us to Volume 3. Optimus Prime takes out Shockwave. Is Shockwave dead? We don't know. Again, there's this ambiguity to what is going on. So then we catch back up with Starscream. Starscream was left for dead, fighting Soundwave earlier on. He's found by some humans that are part of Destro's group, Mars Industries. We never really figure out what their connection is. He seems to be a son of a GI Joe, but they never quite say.
I think they do actually bring them back up in like one of the latest issues of the GI Joe comics. So
Okay. Well, at least in Transformers, they didn't say who it was, so they may have
yeah,
named him since then. But they attach Starscream's upper half to a hiss tank from GI Joe, and they like have control of him. We get the backstory of Starscream and how he's just a peaceful scientist on Cybertron, and I like how he gets his name, where he got the Omega Sentinels flying by, and he got to wave at him there, and his friends like, "You screamed at the heavens, you screamed at the stars," and so that's cool how that he becomes Starscream. His friend is a member of the Decepticons, and this is where we see that Jetfire and Starscream were friends back then. And his friend gets shot, but the thing is, when his friend gets shot, they don't ever show you who shot his friend. It's implied it's Optimus Prime, but I'm kind of wondering if it was Megatron. But it's one of those things that it just doesn't show you. He's kind of shot off panel. The shooter is so.
I assume this is kind of like new territory as far as Starscream's backstory goes.
As far as I know, this story has not been told before.
Okay, like in other things, does he have like a backstory?
I'm sure he's had several backstories. Because I know, like in one of the cartoons, he's a good guy. So yeah, there's been so many different Transformer continuities. It's hard to keep up with. There is a channel. What is his name? I want to say it's like Chris Ely. What is his name? Let me look it up real quick. He does great Transformers videos, like the history of characters. Let me see. Chris McFeely. But he does all kinds of videos about different characters. So I would recommend. I'm sure he has a video on Starscream. I know he does on the Seekers, the other jets. So, but here we see that Starscream joins the Decepticons after his friend dies, and Megatron transforms into a gun and forces him to use it. And I just noticed, looking at this picture, one of the controversies about Megatron the toy is in the 80s it was a gun, and they can't do that anymore because of gun laws. And now he's a tank, but this gun looks like a tank and a gun.
I see it.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
I like that a lot. Actually, that's fun.
Yeah. So, and what's weird is Starscream is peaceful here. He doesn't want to shoot, and then Megatron, he's doing something to his brain where he's taking over and forcing him to shoot every time he holds the gun. So after, presumably hundreds of years of this, Starscream just turns into a vicious monster that hates Starscream, or hates Megatron for what he's done to him. And it's very interesting take on the character.
So has Megatron ever had because if we're talking about this, and then we're also talking about Optimus Prime's arm being Megatron's, is this also this is honestly just going to be me being like, is this new? Is this new? Has this been done before?
This seems to be new to me, but of course I haven't seen every Transformers cartoon. Someone's going to say, "Oh, there was this Japanese episode where blah blah blah." I'm like, I don't know.
Oh well, so that's where I come in. Robots in Disguise onwards, I'm kind of I feel like I would have remembered this.
Yeah.
Because does this imply that because if it's Megatron's arm on on Optimus Prime, then like you could imply that it's like circuitry getting to his brain. But if it's just Starscream holding a gun, that almost makes it seem like some sort of like mind powers that Megatron has, you know?
Yeah, I don't have the panel up, but if you'll notice that when he picks up the gun, there's like a zap on his head, like something happens where he's like in pain. And but you can see this panel if you follow the squares, he starts enjoying the killings the more it goes on.
Yeah.
So very interesting take. Starscream takes over this group of humans who have put bombs all throughout his body, and then he like knocks out the leader, and then he convinces the other ones to take the bombs out, and I'll let you free. And they say, okay. It's the stupidest thing. So of course he kills them all except for the artist because he wants them to draw him as, you know, a grand leader.
I think that's how they go back to them later on. Is that guy? Remember that guy actually is set free or something.
Okay, so maybe that storyline gets picked up in G.I. Joe. Cool.
Very briefly, just mentioned.
Yeah. So now we have Starscream forming his army of Decepticons. You have Soundwave forming his army of Decepticons, and they have a huge fight with the Autobots caught in the middle. And repeatedly throughout the series, the humans constantly attack the Autobots instead of the Decepticons. You see this over and over and over. That's another trope that's kind of getting old. If I had another complaint, so I do love this series, even though it sounds like I'm complaining about it. But this story arc is going to end at issue 24, and then Kirkman's going to take over. So it'll be interesting to see where he's going to take the book and how this story is going to wrap up.
I would imagine Kirkman is probably going to take this in like a completely different direction because, you know, based on what I've read and then based on how you've been saying how it kind of connects to G1, this seems like it almost seems kind of like by the numbers Transformers, other than like the violence and just how grim dark it is. It does kind of seem like you know, kind of by the numbers Transformers. I have a feeling Kirkman's going to go like really different with this.
Well, I think after the Washington battle wraps up with Megatron and Optimus Prime, I feel like, and when we say Washington, it's not DC, it's Seattle, Washington. I have a feeling now the whole world is going to know about Transformers at this point, and the Autobots will have to, you know, become almost like Earth's protectors, and humans will have to start trusting them. So I think, yeah, the tone of the book is going to change. It's gonna, the relationship between the humans and Transformers, I think everything has to change at this point. Cybertron, the fight with Elita 1, everybody, they continue killing off of lots of characters. So if you're fans of, I think it's Dirge and Ramjet, they both get killed. I think Ratbat gets killed. There's a bunch of Decepticons that get killed off. Carly has a van that she paints all kinds of cool fantasy stuff on the sides of, like fantasy artwork, and it gets destroyed. But when they got teleported to Cybertron, the ruined van got teleported, and so they use it to create a new Transformer, and that Transformer is called Shredhead. And if they don't make a toy of Shredhead, they are foolish, because Shredhead is cool.
That's awesome.
So once again, another question: is that a like completely original Transformer to this series?
Yeah, totally brand new.
Okay.
Yeah, totally brand new character. Cliff Jumper made it from like the remaining sparks of some dead Transformers and combined them all together. And he's almost like a combiner where he has maybe different personalities all in there. We don't know. We didn't get quite enough of him on screen. But he's kind of turning the tide on Cybertron, where now the Autobots kind of have hope there. So very cool character. Hope to see some more of him.
I don't keep up with the Transformers toys as much, so I don't know if they've even done Energon
They
Or
haven't
just yet?
mentioned him yet. There was a Jetfire figure
Right.
at
They just did a
Comic
Jetfire
Con that came
figure,
with the Void
the
Rival
Void Rivals
characters.
characters. They've at least done them.
Yeah, so maybe he'll be a Comic Con figure next year. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I think he's too cool of a character to just make Comic Con exclusive, but we'll see.
Right.
But yeah, I just wanted to point him out. So the Decepticon war that's going on. Starscream has the Combaticons, which I think they make Bruticus, and Soundwave has the Constructicons that make Devastator, which they are currently they are releasing the Constructicon figures, and I've always wanted a Devastator, so I bought one of them. But there's 6 Transformers you have to buy to build Devastator. And I think I was adding it up the other day. It'd be like $230 once you get all of them. I'm like, do I really want Devastator this bad? I don't know.
Does this Devastator even have the wrecking balls?
That's a different Devastator. We don't talk about that Devastator.
I am under the robot scrotum.
God. That's not. That's not even how. Oh, that's like when they introduced gay Transformers, and I'm like, but they don't even reproduce that way. Why would they? Huh?
Yeah,
Why would there be gay Transformers and heterosexual? It makes no sense. And so it's like, why would a Transformer have a scrotum if it's all about sparks and creating sparks? And I don't know.
It's a spark, all right.
Oh, okay. Michael Bay is both the best and worst thing that happened to Transformers.
You know what? I at least appreciate you acknowledge that the only reason people care about Transformers is because of his movies at this point. Not the only reason, but a big reason.
Transformers is interesting because it's one of those toy lines that never really went away. It has stayed in production from the 80s through today, whereas other toy lines like He-Man goes away and comes back, or G.I. Joe, or Ninja Turtles even. Transformers, there's always been some type of Transformer on the shelf since the 80s.
I don't think Ninja Turtles has ever gone away.
They just keep changing skins.
There's a brief gap in between when the series in the 90s and then the 2003 series. I think there was a little gap.
Okay.
But anyhow, we get this brutal fight, and they have to kill millions of people in this fight. There's no way around it. It is extremely brutal, and I'm surprised that G.I. Joe, as far as I know, doesn't reference this fight, or they haven't gotten involved.
Right. That's again where the timeline is vague. I don't understand. Either G.I. Joe happens before Transformers or vice versa or something.
Yeah. And again, if these two guys on screen just teamed up, they would wipe out the Autobots instantly. If they would just turn around and fight Optimus Prime, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So during all this, Megatron has escaped. And if you've been reading the Cobra Commander book, you realize that he is a prisoner with Cobra Law. If you don't know who Cobra Law is, they're from G.I. Joe, the animated movie. They are, how do I explain this? They're like this organic cult.
They worship organic matter and organic technology, and they abhor all inorganic technology with a passion.
Yeah, and they're led by Gobulus, however you want to say his name. And he's like half human, half snake. And he only really appeared in the animated movie. But here, they've been holding Megatron's body captive ever since the crash. And we see a fight scene where Megatron is trying to escape. And it's kind of cool that even Gobulus holds his own against Megatron. And because he's a controversial character. Some people think he's lame. Some people think he's cool. I think it's interesting that they're trying to make something out of this character that
This
was largely abandoned after the G.I. Joe animated movie.
This version of Cobra Law is definitely leaps and bounds better than the animated movie one. But
Yeah,
granted,
I would agree.
the animated movie one introduces it all and ends it all within the movie, basically. So you don't really have time to figure out if you like it or not.
Yeah, and it's weird because there are people that prefer their Cobra Commander to just be like the used car salesman that snapped one day and started a terrorist organization. That's kind of like the version I like. And then there's this where he was a scientist that had a spore explode in his face and turn him into a snake creature, and then he was kicked out of Cobra Law and created Cobra. It's weird. It's very
even
strange.
different. It's even different in this continuity too from that too.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's also Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. We don't talk about that, Caleb.
Yes.
No, here's the funniest thing is, as much as I talk about, like, I was like, oh man, I don't really know a whole lot about Transformers, blah blah blah. I know quite a bit about Transformers, just not like the fandom or Gen 1. G.I. Joe, I got no idea what's going on. I just saw the movies. And I think there was
You
one
mean
cartoon.
the live action movies, yeah.
Yeah, the live action ones.
Yeah, the live action movies. And then I think there was one cartoon when I was growing up, but I don't remember which one that was.
I would recommend, if someone wanted a crash course in the G.I. Joe mythos, I would go watch all the 5-parters and the original cartoons, and then watch the animated movie, and then finish it with, I guess, Dragonfire if you really want to torture yourself.
Not the Geek series.
If you don't know, the G.I. Joe cartoon was awesome and amazing when Sunbow, Marvel's company, was making them. And then when Dick took over DIC, they totally ruined the cartoon. This was after Transformers animated movie.
The budget got slashed and the voice cast mostly changed.
It turned into like a comedy show. It's terrible.
They had to save the Cleveland's carrier or something at one point. And
it's bad.
It's that, but it's also like looking at Falcon straight up as like a drug addict in one episode. So
yeah, the drug episode is incredible, where they actually kill off a character at the end. The headmaster, the leader of the drug organization. The building falls on him, and in the show, the drug is like a pink dust, and so you see his hand sticking out of the rubble, and the pink dust floats across screen, and then it just flashes across screen. Drugs kill. That's how the episode ends. It's like, what?
Definitely Himalayan sea salt, clearly.
So,
the 90s.
Yeah, So I will. I wanted to. I have a question to ask. Cameron and I were talking about this yesterday, but I will say, if I ask this question, it will shift the conversation to G.I. Joe.
Well, we're at the end. The only thing I was going to add is Megatron Returns. It's kind of a really kick-ass scene where he can't see, so he's wired a laser beak into his eyes.
Yeah, that is cool.
I'm trying to find the scene. It's right here. And he immediately heals Ravage, which was all Soundwave was wanted for 18 issues. And so Soundwave's like, yep, my master's back. I'm ready to go. And I don't know. I know there's more issues past this that are currently out, but the trade paperback's not out. I'm curious to see what they'll do to Starscream after this.
I think it's out this month, isn't it? Or is it next month?
I think issue 23 has just came out. So we're getting close to the finale, and then the trade paperback will be out. But yeah, I hope they don't kill off Starscream. Again, he's my favorite character, but I mean, if they do, they do. You know.
I mean,
lots of other characters.
they could make him the Decepticon ship, and he also wants to die.
Yes.
Honestly, that would be dope. Is if both sides had like a vegetable as like a transport device. Like, the Autobots have Jetfire, and then the Decepticons have Starscream.
I want the toy line, the Transformer vegetables. Just
Larry the Cucumber.
comes with Spike in his little wheelchair. So, one character I want to mention real quick before we move on from Transformers, Thundercracker is one of the Seekers, and he's upset with the done Skywarp.
I'm sorry, it's a funny name.
Thundercracker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just used to it. I've heard it since I was a kid, so I don't okay.
I mean, so I
now
here's
I realize why you're saying it's funny. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, another thing that's funny, because so I know you didn't see this Zachary Levi Shazam movie, but there's a scene where he and his foster brother are trying to like come up with a they're trying to come up with like his superhero name, and then he's like, his name is Thundercrack, and he's like, dude, that sounds like a butt thing.
I was just thinking it sounds like a blaxploitation villain, Thundercracker.
Oh, it does. Yeah. No. Thundercracker. You know what it does? Thundercracker just sounds like a Cheat Commandos thing. That's really what it sounds like. Firebird.
Thundercracker is interesting because he's a Decepticon, but he has no interest in killing humans. And I think in one of the last continuities in the comics, he became a member of G.I. Joe. Thundercracker did. So I don't know if we'll see something similar down the line. I'm not sure.
So I do have a question. It does seem like there comes a point where they've decided that Starscream is just the best design they ever came up with, and then they just keep doing that again.
Well, you do know that they make toys, and it's a lot easier just to repaint the toy and resell it 100 times.
Yeah, that's true.
Just give it a new name.
So
this is Blue Starscream, and this is Purple Starscream, and
this is Sub-Zero, this is Scorpion, and this is Reptile, and
yeah,
yeah. So that's where we kind of leave off with Transformers, and then the final page is the Autobots announcing that they are retreating. Because it's like, what are we gonna do? There's like 3 of them, and Megatron is back. So I assume that Cybertron storyline will tie back into this somehow, and maybe that's how they'll win. But
you know what?
Comes back and takes care of business.
That's another thing that reminds me of the Krakoan era, especially House of X, Powers of 10, is going back and forth between the Cybertron stuff. It's kind of like Powers of 10.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So I personally really enjoyed this. Caleb, what did you think about Transformers?
I liked it. Like I said,
keep in mind that Caleb didn't actually read it; he's just watching the YouTube
right.
videos.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I don't know if this is I think this might be for fans. Like, I don't know if this is for the newcomer, honestly.
I can see that, but also, if you've been a fan of G1 and you've been waiting for some really good Transformers, it's been a while.
Yeah, yeah.
We were teased at the beginning of Bumblebee, like, oh wait, this is gonna be our movie. Oh, just kidding, it's over.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think I would say I would function as a newcomer essentially, since I don't really.
Mm-hmm.
I know some of the basics of the Transformers lore and general, but I don't say I'm a fan to that degree. So I enjoyed this book. I know enough of the characters to kind of make some connections and for what they are, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed just the complete devastation of every page, essentially. Just like it feels like the writer essentially goes, "Okay, we made this worse. Now how can it be worse?"
Yeah, and me saying that me saying that I'm not sure if this is. I mean, maybe this is more for fans than it is for newcomers. That might also have to do with the fact that whenever I watched the recap, it was a recap by a fan, and so it was a little bit more noticeable whenever he would point out stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, I definitely wouldn't have called that if he didn't say anything, or I wouldn't have known what that was if he didn't say anything. So it may have also had to do with the fact that it was a fan recapping it, and so it made me feel inadequate, I guess. I will say, and we're going to move on to G.I. Joe, which I have no stake in. It's more just definitely going to be me asking questions, and as far as Void Rivals goes, I still think Void Rivals might be my favorite thing that I have experienced in this universe. If that.
So I'll say this: some spoilers for Void Rivals Volume 2 and Volume 3, which I haven't read Volume 3. The Transformer right there in your middle of your screen, Springer, the green one.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up in Void Rivals, and then Hot Rod right behind him also shows up in Void Rivals. So the story is shifting a little bit towards them, and then apparently Cobra Law, the Gobulus people, are going to start showing up in Void Rivals.
Okay.
So it's all going to start kind of tying together. I don't know if we'll ever have an official crossover, but the stories do lead into each other.
I would put money on an official crossover.
I mean, they're kind of teasing crossovers in G.I. Joe more than they have in Transformers, I think.
I think I'd almost bet money on it that we'll get a G.I. Joe versus Transformers at some point. We'd almost have to.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Duke real quick.
Well,
what's your question?
Yes. So, like I said, G.I. Joe is not something that I've ever really had a stake in besides the movie, which I was a kid and I saw the live action movies. And I almost think I know the answer, because there actually is kind of a G.I. Joe equivalent for I guess my generation. But my question is, what is the appeal of G.I. Joe?
So you had to be there. I guess I'm the old guy on the pod. The 80s, we were coming into the end of the Cold War. We were coming out of Vietnam, where it was very anti-America sentiment. And so when Ronald Reagan became president, it was very America rah-rah. Like, you could see it in our movies, like Rocky IV, Rambo, these types of movies where America is awesome. We kick butt. And so G.I. Joe was the all-American hero. But not only that, it was just Robert Kirkman has said this, and we might do a show on it at one point, where he says that G.I. Joe has the best. I forgot what that's called. The Rogues Gallery. He says that G.I. Joe has the best Rogues Gallery, even better than Batman. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think that would be a fun discussion for our show one day. The best Rogues Galleries and cartoons and comics.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, but the very fun characters, and again, it was just the spirit of the country at that time was America versus evil. Cobra was evil. That was just the country at that moment. The Cold War was reaching the end. And that's kind of why G.I. Joe doesn't work as well when you take it out of the 80s. Like, modern takes on G.I. Joe just have not really worked. To me, that is the appeal.
Military organization.
And when they make a G.I. Joe less a real American hero and real global protector or whatever. It's not the
Doesn't-
same.
Okay, gotcha. Well, and I kind of thought that was the answer because whenever Cameron and I were talking about it yesterday on the way to get some dinner, um, uh, he mentioned he's like, well, I mean, we kind of had ours. I was like, oh, really? What? He's like, well, we grew up on like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like we, and not just like the kids yelling at each other with expletives in multiplayer. I'm talking about like I'm talking about like the campaign because we had Captain Price and Soap and Ghost, Roach, all these different characters, and I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like that's I guess in a way that could be like the newer generations, GI Joe.
Yeah.
So the problem with why GI Joe won't work is I think it could work,
Mhm.
but the studios are scared to make it America centric because they're trying to sell it to overseas markets.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's all about rah America, how will other countries react to it? I think it could be a smash hit like Top Gun movies, where
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's rah America,
Okay,
America's awesome.
spectacle.
But the current political climate and everything else, somebody say, "Oh, you're picking sides and blah blah blah." I get it.
Yeah,
but
and that's the difference because I mentioned Call of Duty. Like the people that I mentioned, it's Task Force 141 from the British SAS, so it's not even American.
yeah, so I think if it was America centric and I say melt testosterone, rawr movie, but G.I. Joe's got some cool girl characters too,
Yeah.
So I think the other thing about G.I. Joe is some of the characters will come across as ethnic stereotypes today.
What? You mean
Like
tell me
Spirit and
is-
Quick Kick and whatnot that may not fly today. That's why I say embrace it or set it in the 80s and just embrace it and go
Yeah,
with
make
it.
it a period piece.
And
I think another reason it struggles in the modern day is just because Hasbro won't allow it to mature, if that makes sense. Like it they're constantly like with the Resolute cartoon slash movie, whatever you want to call it, that was not officially approved by Hasbro, and the people that made it just kind of dropped it on the internet and it became a smash hit. Everyone loves it. And Hasbro's kind of begrudgingly like, okay, yeah, it was y'all like it, I guess. But that was the first real modern rendition of G.I. Joe that was allowed to be mature and was allowed to show blood and violence and stuff. And
yep.
Hasbro just doesn't, for a reason, allow it to do that anymore.
The other issue is the culture has changed, and
Yeah,
in the 80s, kids would play with toy guns constantly and play war, and
yeah,
now people are squeamish when it comes to war. We saw that when the Ukraine war broke out, that Nintendo delayed the release of Advance Wars because they didn't want to make a statement by releasing that game.
well, even Hasbro recently, like people are clamoring for another subgroup in the GI Joe lore called the October Guard. Everyone's been clamoring for them since this new line of toys started back in 2020
Yeah.
for them to be made into figures. And
So
that's not going
Caleb,
to happen.
the October Guard are like the Russian equivalent of GI Joe in the series. So
Okay.
Hasbro doesn't want to
Yeah.
make those toys right now because of the current
Mhm.
climate with Russia, which
Are
I get, but
Yeah.
it's
And they're all Eastern Bloc country people from Eastern Bloc countries and Russia itself. So I think even
are they good guys or bad
yes,
guys?
they
they're
are good. They're like rivals, good guys. Both
they're
they're
good
both fighting against
guys.
Cobra, but they don't always get along. GI Joe, but they
Yeah,
they're begrudging allies. So
yeah. They're not technically enemies, but they're not really allies fully either.
yeah.
I'll be honest. I see it. Why they may not want to release
Sure.
them. Yeah, I
Well,
definitely
just
I
look
understand.
look at the recent Captain America movie, Captain Falcon movie with Sabra.
Yeah.
just making her Israeli made people freak out.
Yeah.
So I get why they are gun shy about putting Russian characters in at the moment. I get it.
Yeah.
So let's
Anyways.
talk about
And
these.
the reason is because the reason that I asked, because that whole conversation was just because I asked why. I think that conversation is very important because I think anybody who watches this is probably going to be closer to me than to you guys.
I understand. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
My generation is slowly dying off. I get it.
That's not what I meant. I meant as far as opinion on GI Joe.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's a distant memory.
Yeah.
The 80s were a long time ago, and
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, whenever I say opinion on GI Joe, I really mean more so just lack of opinion on GI Joe, just because it's
it's
not.
a franchise that they kind of killed off, and they keep trying to bring it back, but they don't know what to do with it.
Well,
I think-
Hasbro brings it back when they're struggling because they know it'll appeal to a certain market that has money right now.
Yeah.
And then when they're back on solid footing, they'll find some way to ruin it and cancel it, like they always do, because that's what happens with G.I. Joe.
Yeah. So let's talk about there's been 4 miniseries, Duke, Cobra Commander, Destro, and Scarlet, and then they've started a main series.
Written by Joshua Williamson, who I love on his work.
Yeah. Duke is introduced actually in the second issue of Transformers. He is in the jet that Starscream attacks and kills the pilot, and Duke was the passenger in the pilot, and he escapes. And so his miniseries is largely about him trying to convince people that these giant robots exist, and nobody believes him. And he's on the run from the military, and then at the end, he is kind of recruited by GI Joe at the end, but they kind of have their own motives at the end.
Mm-hmm. They have official GI Joe.
And there's kind of like, from what I remember, it's been a minute since I've read this. There's Duke has a team, but there's kind of a second team that Duke doesn't know about. Is that right?
Yeah, Hawk recruits Duke at the end of the book for the official GI Joe team that is quote unquote, known to the public sort of way. But then Hawk has Flint and Lady J starting what's essentially Night Force. That's the unknown GI Joe team.
Yeah, I think this book is fun. I've read Duke, Cobra Commander, and Destro so far. I think the Duke book is fun, but I think Cobra Commander is my favorite of the 3.
Yeah.
And but this one's fun. It's a lot of Duke on the run and slowly running into other Joes that you may be familiar with, like Rock and Roll, and kind of him convincing people to join his side. We also see Baroness as a good guy, and which is weird, but
got major blood.
Yeah, and on the Cobra side, we see Mercer as a bad guy, which I think was always on the toys. They had the file cards that would like give you the background of the characters, and his always said he was a former Cobra soldier.
Yeah,
so I think
he was always a former Viper, but he was always GI Joe in a sense.
Yeah, it was always like shown after he had switched to GI Joe. Correct. So we're getting kind of the backstory before he switches. So I think that'd be cool, and I mean, Baroness has to switch sides at some point.
They've already hinted at in the main book that she's gonna switch sides soon enough.
Yeah, so I think Duke is if you want to get into GI Joe, if you're a fan, I think Duke's a must read.
Yeah.
So we're gonna kind of touch on these briefly. We're not gonna go in depth as we did on Transformers. Cobra Commander, I think, is awesome. This is the book I really like. Basically, Cobra Commander has been sent on a mission from Cobra Law to get more of the Cybertron technology. Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, basically, he convinces Globulus after he shows them that technology is actually a good thing, you dummy. It can be used for our purposes. Let me
Yeah,
show you.
because Cobra Law worships organics, and Cobra Commander's like, no, we can use technology to conquer the world, and so
Yeah.
he is on a mission to find more things like Megatron. Along the way, he ends up running into the Dreadnoks, which is
Yes.
Zartan's group, and they capture him and torture the mess out of him. And they draw this bloody smiley face on his helmet, which I love. I think it's so cool, such a cool image. We also find out that there's a guy that is kind of like Cobra Commander's driver / bodyguard is with him. We find people online speculated that it's Grunt from GI Joe because he called him a grunt, and it wasn't. It was Nebulous Enforcer from the animated movie.
Nemesis Enforcer.
And he's one of those characters that looks like he should not fit in the GI Joe mythos, but he's a cool character which is briefly in the cartoon, and here he's just vicious and just tears into the Dreadnoks, murdering them. He's quite brutal. So Caleb, what do you think about this guy, knowing nothing about him?
So I'm glad that I'm invited in on this, because I did have a question that involves this and other weird characters. If you were to bring back GI Joe for the modern age, would you want there to be characters like this? And what's their name? Zim Zam and Mix Max or something?
Tomax and Zaymot. We'll get to them in a minute, because I do want to talk about them. They're in the Destro May series.
Yeah.
So in the 80s, you had the cartoon, and then you had the Larry Hama comics. The Larry Hama comics were more serious. They would sometimes touch into the wacky sci-fi when like Serpentor showed up, but for the most part, they were serious military stories about these characters.
Is he the one? Because I've heard this story before, where you said his name is Larry Hama.
Yeah.
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, he wanted to write Nick Fury. And then whenever Marvel got G.I. Joe, he's like, hey, I'll do it. And so he took all of his Nick Fury ideas and put it into G.I. Joe. So for all intents and purposes, Duke is Nick Fury, and Cobra Commander is Red Skull, Destro is Zemo. Am I off on this at all?
I don't know that story for fact. I do know that Larry Hama, he's an Asian writer, so he had a lot of trouble getting work during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In the G.I. Joe book, he was just kind of giving because no one else wanted it.
Yeah, that, and if you love G.I. Joe and Transformers, you should thank the Lord for Jim Shooter, the editor at the time, who put these guys in charge of these books, because they're the ones that came up with all the names for the characters, all the toys, everything was Marvel Comics.
Oh, here it is. I just Wikipedia'd it. Hama at the time had recently pitched a Nick Fury spin-off, Fury Force, about a special missions force. Hama used this concept as backstory for G.I. Joe. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So Larry Hama was very instrumental in coming up with like Snake Eyes and all these character names. Here's the fun fact: he's never seen the cartoon. He knows nothing about the cartoon. So the cartoon is the same characters, but much more sci-fi silliness.
Yes, very much silliness.
So there's two different flavors of G.I. Joe. There's the serious war one with ninjas mixed in, and then there's the sci-fi one with less ninjas. Well, they towards the end they get ninjas, but Snake Eyes is actually hardly on the old G.I. Joe cartoon.
Yeah.
Which is, I think they didn't know what to do with him at the time, and the comic book was really what made him.
Yeah. I mean, was Storm Shadow in the cartoon?
Oh yeah.
Yes, but his big rivalry was Quick Kick, not Snake Eyes.
I thought it was Spirit first.
Well, Spirit also. Yeah.
Is Spirit Nightwolf?
Basically,
Okay.
He's an Indian that has a pet eagle named Freedom.
Freedom, yes.
The 80s, man.
You know,
So
bald
awesome.
eagle freedom.
So what I'm hearing is the GI Joe revival would be closer to Larry Hama than the cartoon.
I would think so. I mean, you can, like I said, you
In
pick
terms
your
of tone.
flavor. I think that the problem with the first GI Joe movie is they were trying to mix both of them.
Mhm.
Like they had the goofy laser guns and the stupid suits that made them run fast and all that. And it's
So
kind of like
yeah, shoot, man, come on.
pick a lane, you know, which one you're going to be in.
Which I honestly of the two, I think the second one was better, and they kind of got rid of like the sci-fi-ness of it. So I guess it was closer to just an 80s action movie, without cyber suits or anything.
I adore and love the 80s cartoon, but if I
Mhm.
getting a movie, I would want it to be the Larry Hama comics. Now you could do a new cartoon that's based on the 80s stuff. That's fine. In that tone, awesome. But I think movie-wise, you would have to go for the Larry Hama stuff.
I think the second one had just enough sci-fi to make it feel like G.I. Joe without going so far into sci-fi.
I hated the first movie so much I never saw any of the other movies. So that's
it's still not,
where I'm at.
It's still not great because The Rock's in it.
Yeah.
But it's better.
I don't know. I think if you're gonna do a G.I. Joe movie, you gotta set during the 80s, and
yeah,
I think tonally it just works better because you're coming out of Vietnam. There is the different era. You can have Cobra feeding off of people's anger towards the military and everything, and that's how a terrorist group rises up and convinces people to join it. And I think there's a way to make that work. And the 80s is just, it's not so. Society kind of became jaded once we got the internet, so I think you have to go pre-internet, and then I think you can have more fun with it. Okay, so that was the Cobra Commander series. The Destro series is about Destro developing, I think, the Bat Soldiers, the Battle Android Troopers, and there's a rivalry with Tomax and Zaymot, which are the Crimson Twins that Caleb mentioned earlier.
I think whenever I said Mix Max and Zim Zam, I think that's the Community episode.
Probably is. I did not enjoy this as much because about 10 years earlier, I had read the Chuckles book, Cobra, where Chuckles goes undercover into Cobra, and Tomax and Zaymot do so much psychological torture to him. And it's just a brilliant book. They're so evil in that. So for me to see Tomax and Zaymot again, this would be kind of back to the silly 80s version. I didn't like it. I was just like, oh, we're back to this where if you hit one, the other one fills it and all that garbage.
Oh, come on, that's fun.
Well, no, that's the part that I was confused. I mean, not confused, but that's the part that I was curious about. Is like, there's no way that you do that in a movie because it's stupid.
Caleb, you would love the Cobra series of Chuckles. It is so good.
Okay, so right now I'm stuck on the fact that you're telling me there's a character named Chuckles.
Let me show you Chuckles. Let me find a picture of him.
Yeah, Chuckles.
Okay.
I have his action figure too. It's great.
Okay.
Okay, let me share my screen. He was introduced in the animated G.I. Joe movie, but he just kind of didn't do anything. He was just kind of there, just like, oh,
he just threw a missile at tank.
Yeah, this is Chuckles. Just this dude in a Hawaiian shirt. And what the Cobra miniseries is about is he's always cracking jokes, and Hawk kicks him out of G.I. Joe in front of everybody and fires him. And then he's like, we just burned you. Now you're a secret agent. Now you have a cover story. We can sneak you into Cobra. And so he gets recruited by Cobra. And I'm not going to go into everything that happens, but like Tomax and Zaymot are messing with him. And they go by the name X. and he doesn't. He doesn't at first. He doesn't know they are twins. At first, he doesn't know they're twins. Are you back, Caleb?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What do you think about Chuckles?
I think that this seems like a character that would be played by Bruce Campbell.
I could see that. Maybe Nathan Fillion. I could see.
Well, not Bruce Campbell now. Bruce Campbell's too old. But,
yeah.
I don't know. He did you ever watch Burn Notice?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Just by looking at him, he has a Sam Axe look to him.
Gotcha.
So you said that he first appeared in the movie,
the animated movie of the 80s. Yes.
So is this Duke's brother?
No, that's Falcon.
Okay, and people don't like him.
People do not like Falcon. No.
Gotcha. Okay.
Chuckles, no one cared about. He was just there. I was just like, okay, whatever. But the Cobra series made him really cool because, like I said, he goes undercover. He's recruiting the Cobra. They start making him do horrible things. And his contact from G.I. Joe is Jinx, who is like the ninja girl that was also introduced in the anime movie. And
she was in the Retaliation movie.
Yes.
And they're like lovers. Chuckles and Jinx are. And
Chuckles, this sounds like a circus. Like, this is Chuckles and this is Jinx.
Yeah. So what Tomax and Zaymot do
there's way more
is
crazy names to G.I. Joe.
Yeah, they capture Jinx and they say, "Prove your loyalty to us. Put a bullet in her head," and he does. It's brutal, man. That's just volume 1, and it gets crazier after that.
You know what is it about girls named Jinx and having really rough lives?
I'm telling you, man. And the crazy part is he's doing all this to prove his loyalty. And the whole time, Tomax and Zaymot, they know he's a double agent. They're just messing with him. They know he's working for G.I. Joe, and it's brutal. And so to go from that Tomax and Zaymot to this Tomax and Zaymot, where it's like, we're silly, and it's just like, I can't go back. I can't go back.
And in that story, they're just twins, right? Like they don't have the powers.
Right. They do everything the same, and then Chuckles scars one of them in the face. And then the one that's got a scarred face starts acting differently, and it breaks their bond. And one just starts going crazy because Chuckles scarred his face. So that's a really fun series. They need to reprint it.
Based on that, I thought that was going in a different direction. How's this for an idea? Their face, one of their faces gets scarred, and then like they're so twin connected that the other one willingly scars himself so that way they match. So
yeah, that was the fun of the toys. That's how you told them apart. Is the one had the scar, one didn't. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Also, their uniforms they mirror slightly.
Yeah, they're like mirror images of each other. And the way the comic book reads, the whole comic book about them. There's one issue where it's all about them. It's a mirror. Like if you look at the first page and the last page, they're like mirrored panels, but they're doing different things. And the whole book is a mirror. It's really cool.
So is it a palindrome? Like it meets in the middle?
Yeah, it does. And Tomax backwards is Zaymot. Their names are mirrors of each other.
Okay.
So, I do love those characters, but they were just too silly for me in the Destro miniseries, so that kind of took me out of it. Destro also gets a new girlfriend, which was weird because I'm big fans of Destro and Baroness being together. So
you don't like Duke and Baroness?
Oh,
stop it,
Caleb. It's the weirdest thing where they'll cast a blonde girl to play Mary Jane and a redhead to play Gwen Stacy. Then they cast a blonde girl to play Baroness. It's the weirdest thing. But
the funny thing is in the Snake Eyes movie, they cast a blonde to play Scarlet because Samara Weaving's blonde.
And then they turned Snake Eyes Asian. It's a whole thing. Anyhow, Okay. So Destro, I'm kind of shaky on. It's fine. But I think Cobra Commander and Duke are both must reads. I haven't read Scarlet. Jonathan, take it away. Should you read Scarlet?
Yeah, so Scarlet is the only, I have to say, it's the only one out of the four that they were, quote, prequels to the main story that they're doing now, where at this point, nothing that happens in the book ties back into the main book. So I'm not sure why at this point they chose to go with Scarlet, because even future books for the rest of the year don't have anything to do with Scarlet. That's part of no. That
Is
being said, but
is there anything in the Scarlet book that like you would that's like big enough to be like series shattering?
yes, at the end there is. Like,
I think the book involves Jinx again, right? And they're setting up the ninja stuff, I believe, right?
yeah, so basically they hint at Scarlet and Jinx having at least a relationship that is friendly and may or may not be more than just friends. They were just vague enough to where you can't really say for sure if it was made that way or not. But anyways,
Yeah, I think
uh,
that was in case the fans reacted badly. They go, "Oh no, that's not there. You're
yeah,
reading into it."
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah. Anyways, so that plays into it a little bit because Scarlet is tasked by Stalker to infiltrate the Arashikage clan through this mission where, weirdly enough, Snowjob is the helicopter pilot that takes her there. And so Scarlet gets to the Arashikage temple compound, if you want to call it, and his cat and infiltrates and meets with, I think it's Hardmaster, I want to say, and
mhm.
she's quickly subdued and knocked unconscious and taken to a holding cell in there. And
So
Stormshaw talks to her for a bit. Go ahead.
so would you recommend reading this or just watching a YouTube recap video on it?
Honestly, unless you're just a big fan of Scarlet and maybe Storm Shadow, I would just watch a YouTube video on it at this point because
Okay. I've
yeah.
debated buying it. The completionist in me wants to,
What happens in there is cool and it is fun. Basically, like, you want me to just spoil the ending?
let's hold off on this one
Okay,
because I haven't read it.
that's fine.
Um, I
But
just
it
wanted to
is
point out.
significant and does play into Energon. I have to say that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Caleb was making fun of GI Joe names earlier. I don't know how familiar he is with the Snake Eyes mythos, but actually there's three masters of the ninja clans.
Yes.
There's Hard Master,
Uh-huh.
there's Soft Master,
Yes.
Yes.
there's Face Master. Is there
Oh.
another one?
There was Young Master, which is basically just Storm Shadow.
Okay, Young Master. So Hard Master, Soft Master, Face Master, Young Master.
All right. Yeah.
Soft Master. Let's go.
You know, my dad's
The little
favorite.
fat Asian man.
My dad always said his favorite GI Joe growing up was Deep Six. So
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Deep Six.
Hey,
He was a cool toy.
well, I mean,
He's
it
just
was
like
a
this
strong word for the
bulky.
first one. He can
He's
move his
he's a bulky diving suit. He's like a
and a
robot
bulky
almost.
Yes.
What are some other funny GI Joe names we got? What Skidmark,
We got Skid Mark, we got Red Spot,
Snow Job,
DJ,
I mean,
No Job,
Ice
so
Cream Soldier.
I mean,
the Ice Cream Soldier who's a flamethrower.
Skid Mark has kind of been there, done that because of skids and mud flaps. So,
Yeah, Gridiron. He's like a
Yeah,
football
Captain
player.
Gridiron.
oh yeah, that's the guy who is just Travis Kelsey.
He has the grenades look like footballs. So I could imagine the fun of kids
Hardball.
pick up
He has the great lunch
footballs.
with the
You know,
throw 'em around.
there was one. Is this the guy where like you showed me the figure of him and I'm like, that's just Travis Kelsey in a Chiefs jersey.
No, that's Bazooka.
Yeah,
Oh, that's Bazooka.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He likes fudgy bars and talks like this.
for some reason, Bazooka was my favorite character as a kid. I think it's because that's the toy I had.
Yeah.
So he became instantly my favorite character, and
Okay.
my brother still makes fun of me this day, like Bazooka was your favorite character, and so
Yeah. There's a bunch of them. I mean, CoverGirl is kind of funny if you think about it.
yeah,
Also a makeup
CoverGirl,
brand.
yeah,
Here's for all you Swifties out there.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
That is Travis Kelsey.
Oh man, so
Tiger Force one's much better.
so now we've got a GI Joe series is out. Let's kind of avoid spoilers. Is it any good, Caleb? Or Rex?
I think it's pretty good. What?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, have you read it or no?
I have not read the GI Joe series yet.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So they just finished up the first story arc a couple months back, and they did a one-off, and they're starting a new story arc. It's been pretty good. They got a lot of nice Easter egg references, bringing in some characters from the comic and the cartoon. They had introduced one new character, name was Risk, and I think for the most part he's unanimously not liked because he comes off as uh, just a certain hole, you know.
Those are usually the best characters, though, where there's going to be a moment where they do something and he's going to become everybody's favorite character. They set him
Yeah.
up as the a-hole, and then eventually something happens and the script gets flipped and he'll become like everybody's beloved character.
Yeah,
if they do it right.
Basically, his whole deal is I think he's like former CIA for like risk assessment, codename Risk, whatever. And so
Yeah.
he's constantly kind of like inserting himself into the conversation and giving his opinion on stuff, and
Yeah.
he's constantly pointing at people where they went wrong, or whatever else. And so he gets annoying to all the other characters.
Yeah. I'm a bigger GI Joe fan than I am a Transformers fan, and so I'm looking forward.
But yeah, I would say read it for sure.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to see where it goes. They, like we said, they have not introduced Snake Eyes.
Nope.
You know, I'm sure once sales start to drop, Snake Eyes will suddenly appear. But Cobra Commander is just so evil in these books.
Oh yeah, just wait till the end of the first story arc. You find out how evil he can be.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the Energon Universe, where it's heading. I know a lot of comic books are not great right now, but I think this is one of the great runs that we're starting to see, and this is a great time to jump on board. We're not too far into it still. I think this is like the end of year 2. So
Yeah.
I think this is a
And they've
good
already
time.
had a Transformer show up. I won't say which one.
Okay.
He's been in the book a few times here and there, and also.
The other thing is in the free comic book day,
Mask. Yeah.
Yeah, they introduced Mask, which was another 80s toy line from
I'm
Hasbro.
not familiar at all.
It was an 80s cartoon, but it kind of, that was it. It hasn't really had any relaunches since then. I think the characters show up a little bit in G.I. Joe in the past, but Mask is basically cars that would transform into cool tanks
cars
and stuff. Like like it looks like a Porsche, and then you push a button, it transforms into this big killing machine.
Yeah.
And they all wore helmets that were masks that would let them control the vehicles.
So the vehicles were not sentient.
No, they're not Transformers.
No. Which is why I kind of want to see what happens with Transformers and Mask.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they'll use
talk or something.
If they'll use the Cybertronian technology to make cars turn into military vehicles or something.
I'm on their Wikipedia now. There's a 5th one called Visionaries. What's that?
Visionaries, I don't know a whole lot about. I remember the toys. They had like holograms on their chest. That's the one I'm thinking of. But other than that, I don't know a whole lot. The cartoons back then, they all unofficially hooked together because the same news reporter would appear on each cartoon. It was the same character.
Yes, Ramirez.
So G.I. Joe, Transformers, I think Mask, and then Inhumanoids. Inhumanoids is the one I really want them to bring back because it is crazy.
Oh yeah, you should
The toy line was so controversial that it got pulled after 13 episodes, the cartoon. It was so dark, and I don't know how I was able to watch it as a 6-year-old or however old I was.
Did he also
but
pop up in Jim and the Holograms too?
maybe, so
Dude, I'll get down with some Gem and the Holograms. That's something that I actually know.
if they do like a crazy story with Zartan's
Yeah.
band with Jim and the Holograms, and then we throw
They're-
in Battle Beast in here, this will be the greatest series of all time.
They are doing a one-shot comic. I want to say next month for Cold Slither.
That's awesome. Yeah, they just did the toys, right?
Yeah, I had the toy. It's on my shelf right now. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. So, Caleb, if you're not familiar with Cold Slither, they did an episode of the cartoon where Zartan and them make a rock band, and they have a whole song and everything, and
because it's the 80s.
And it's great. So they just made toys of them.
Yeah.
So
Cold,
very cool.
Hair metal bands.
Yeah, Cold Slither, and I think they just released a music video on YouTube. I think.
So the whole thing this year with Cold Slither was that this big giant push for the band itself, and they had actual artists dress up and sing the Cold like a Cold Slither cover, and they also made like 10 new songs for the full album treatment.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah,
hold on.
Yeah, I'll send you a link for it. It's just Cold Slither. It's just the title of the same damn album. It's heavy metal / like rock metal. Just
Type in Cold Slither G.I. Joe. You'll see Zartan with long red hair pop up.
Oh no! Yeah. I saw that. I was looking for because I mean honestly, that just kind of sounds like something they would like get like an actual hair metal band to do. So I was wondering if it was
did.
Is
they
it still
hired people to do like a full concert treatment like during San Diego Comic-Con at some venue nearby.
I'm looking up to see if it because that really just sounds like something Steel Panther would do. So I'm seeing if it's them.
I don't know. I know they named the musicians and who they're actually with and stuff, but I couldn't tell you their names.
Let's see.
But yeah, the video of the concert's on YouTube somewhere. All that, and Jim does make a quick appearance somewhere in that concert briefly. And the voice actress for Jim was also at Joe Fest this past summer.
That's cool.
Gus Rios is who Zartan was at San Diego Comic.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who is he with?
Yeah, they had the band members there at San Diego. They were signing stuff and pictures of things and whatever. The whole big thing.
And like I said earlier, that's the tonal difference between the cartoon versus the comic. This would never be in the G.I. Joe comic, but this is right up the alley for the cartoon.
Well, even within the cartoon, it's different.
It's weird though because like we talk about how they could never do that, but then like K-pop Demon Hunters is the biggest movie of the 2020s.
That's what I'm saying. If like Marvel and these companies would just embrace the craziness, this stuff would just blow up and take off. Everything's just too much by committee, and they don't take chances. And there's an audience for this, and
oh yeah, absolutely.
So. All right. So anything else we want to add about the Energon Universe before we get out of here? I do want to tease next week's show. We are going to do what I like to call the lifeboat, where we take a franchise and we decide that we can only keep so many characters. So next week we'll be looking at G.I. Joe, and we're only going to be able to keep 50 characters, and then everybody else will be forgetting for all time. And so that's G.I. Joe and Cobras in that 50.
Oh,
And the fun part is, I think we've established that I know nothing, so I'm the tiebreaker,
you are
and
the tiebreaker.
you have to convince me that your character is cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And there's the thing about GI Joe is there's hundreds of characters, and some are
Mhm.
obscure. Rex Ship 85 could bring up one that I know of, but I know nothing about. So yeah, convince
Yeah.
me why this one character should stay. And for some people, it's like, oh, there was that one episode of the cartoon that was about him, and I loved that character ever since. Like take Low Light. Low Light's a character that really hasn't done much, but he has this great episode of the cartoon where it's about him dealing with his nightmares, and not all the other Joes are paralyzed by their nightmares, but he's been having nightmares his whole life, so it doesn't affect him.
Oh, yeah, that
That's
episode.
that,
It gets dark.
That's
Yeah,
like-
it gets
that's like-
super dark.
that's like me with the Spot in the old Spider-Man TV show. Is I love that episode, and they didn't do anything with him until Spider-Verse.
Yeah. So I mean, there's gonna be characters like that where I may have an affinity for him because I've read this one storyline where like there's a really cool sneak peek storyline, the old comic book, and otherwise, who cares about sneak peek? But he's in that one episode or that one issue that's really cool,
Mhm.
So next week
So
will be a really fun debate and a fun show.
I am the masses.
What's more fun is that my context for G.I. Joe is the cartoon and the toys, not
Mhm.
necessarily the old comic. So
Yeah, and I've kind of read both.
And-
I've read the whole Larry Hama run, and
Yeah.
then the old cartoons.
And I would change the channel when G.I. Joe Sigma 6 would come on Cartoon Network.
I would
Well,
change the
that's
channel also. That's
yeah.
not a bad call.
That's a good one. I'll give it props for trying to be different, but also take the prop right back for being bad.
What was the one? Was there G.I. Joe Renegades? I think I liked that one. That one was kind of
Renegades
Yeah,
was
that was
fun.
18 GI Joe basically.
Yeah, it was A-Team Guest of the Week. Like each week they'd meet
There's
a
a
new
couple
G.I.
good
Joe.
episodes in there.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. They were trying to. What was the one character's name they were trying to make happen? Because they couldn't use the name Stalker, or because they were afraid to use the name for the black character named Stalker. I get it, but was it Airtight or what? What was the? It's the Wayans character from the
Ripcord.
movie Ripcord.
Yeah.
They were trying to make a thing, and I was always like, I want Stalker. I don't want
Yeah,
this
it was
guy.
really weird. It was Duke, Scarlet, Ripcord, Roadblock, and Tunnel Rat, and Snake Eyes sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure that was the team from the movie, except I think Heavy Duty.
It was Heavy
also-
Duty to Roadblock, and it was Breaker. It was Arabian Breakers to Tunnel Rat.
Oh wait, is Roadblock the Rock's character?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, sometimes they call him
Unfortunately.
Roadblock. Sometimes they introduce Heavy Duty, which is basically the same character. Hasbro's really bad about losing the rights to names of characters and then getting them back later. So you will
Yeah.
see this happen where all of a sudden they stop using a character and replace it with a similar character.
The Heavy Duty is a separate character now. He's like officially Roadblock's cousin or something.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, the big four main G.I. Joe characters are Duke, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and Stalker.
Yeah.
So that's always been my opinion. So you'll know which four I think definitely have to survive.
Well, and you know what's funny? I never heard of Starkler until you just said him right now. So
Well, like the very first cartoon miniseries, he's like one of the main characters. It's like those four
Yeah.
are the main
Mhm.
characters.
yeah, no, but
Just
I'm just letting you know what uphill battle you have with me trying to convince
Right,
me these
because they
characters.
don't, because that name now has a negative connotation, so they don't use that character that often anymore. I get it.
Like I know Ripcord more than Stalker.
Yeah, and I forget that Ripcord's even a G.I. Joe. I could even remember his name till just now. So it'll be a fun episode next week. So,
So are we just gonna go through a list, or am I come with our own list to fight for?
I would come in with your own list about 30 Joes and Cobras. 30 characters, and I'm sure we'll fill up 50 because my 30
Yeah.
characters will not be your 30 characters, and I mean there'll definitely be overlap. But
Sure,
then
we
it's
did
gonna get
few
into
of
the
these.
weird. It'll get into the weeds with Big Boa and Crocmaster and all
Oh
that great
yes.
stuff.
I will say that as the tiebreaker who doesn't know what's going on, the only requirement I have is I get one free spot, and that spot is going to Deep Six for my father.
That's fine. We can all have one. We can all have one free spot for the obscure character
Yeah,
that we want in
one.
there.
Yeah,
Like I can go ahead and tell you mine. Mine is Billy, the son of Cobra Commander. He goes on the
Yeah.
list.
I mean,
So
you know
Wait,
mine is already,
wait. So does Cobra Commander have like Scott Evil from Austin Powers? Is that what that is?
it's it's not far
Kinda,
off.
yeah.
He's like part of GI Joe. He's got like a
Yeah, he
patch
gets.
eye and a
Yeah,
fake
G.I. Joe
leg and all
captures
this.
him.
Yeah, he was in a car wreck and Cobra Commander thought he died, but he had
He gets
survived.
trained by Storm Shadow when he's good. Right?
Yeah, he comes like a ninja.
That's
Yeah.
that's Snake Plissken. I just looked him up. That's just Kurt Russell, man.
Yeah, if we start bringing up Candy and Bobo the Bear next week, we'll know that we've gone off the
Bongo the
rails.
Balloon Bear? Come on.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, we may go there. And you would think that's from the cartoon. That's from the Larry Hama comics.
Yeah, right?
So,
Very serious comics.
oh, then I'll bring in Quinn the Eskimo, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Quinn's awesome. All right, that'll be next week. If you understood any of that nonsense, tune in next week. It'll be a really fun show. But until next time, I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
Ship 85.
and knowing is half the battle.
See ya.
Yo, Joe.